It's 3:30 in New York, bottom of the hour, time for the top of the news on Studio B. It appears the Taliban have been keeping up with American politics. A spokesman for that militant group has sent out a rambling letter addressed to the new U.S. Congress. It was given to the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by the parent company of this network. The writer of the letter blames the U.S. for the violence in Afghanistan. Written there is that the war there is unwinnable, and there are claims that the military isn't providing a true picture of the realities on the ground. The 2,300-word memo also calls for our new Congress to send a fact-finding mission to Afghanistan. The writer apparently unaware that U.S. lawmakers visit Afghanistan on a regular basis. With us now, the Washington Bureau Chief of the Reuters News Agency, Simon Denyer. Simon, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Chef.
What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, it's quite funny in a way. There's a lot of nonsense in that letter. No one knows what caused the 9/11 events. You really wouldn't know from that the majority of Afghans welcomed US and Western forces when they overthrew the Taliban. That fact they rather overlooked. But, you know, there is a little bit of truth in there too, and I think that the truth that is in there is that perhaps right now the military is inclined to overestimate the success they're having against the Taliban, and that there have been a number of areas where, as we've talked about before, you know, the military is really struggling to keep the Taliban under control. They pressure them in one area, the Taliban pop up in another area. The campaign in Marja hasn't been a success. So in between all the propaganda and the rambling nonsense, there are some truths in there.
You know, part of this says another side of the coin. I'm reading from the letter now. Another side of the coin, more different from the one which is submitted to you by your generals time and again. What I can't figure out is what's in it for the Taliban by putting this out. I can't figure out what the win is for them.
Well, you know, they're trying to mess with our minds, and they're trying to undermine the political will in the US and the West to continue this war. I mean, frankly, this letter is not going to have a huge impact on the political will. In fact, you know, a letter from the Taliban is more likely, I think, to make leaders in the US go, well, we're not listening to this rubbish, and, you know, we need to crush this movement. So I don't think it's a particularly well thought out strategy. Where the Taliban are winning the propaganda war is not in letters like this. The way they are winning the propaganda war is on the ground, and that's with Afghan villagers. That's through word of mouth, not through trying to influence US Congress to go soft on them.
Yeah, this is the first time that I know of that the Taliban have addressed the Congress. Thankfully, no one in Congress responded, thankfully.
Well, yeah, I don't think that too many people are going to be rushing to respond to the Taliban and give them the time of day, to be honest. So, you know, the invitation is for Congress to attend is an empty invitation. But as I say, it's really on the ground that matters. On the ground, the Taliban are telling people that only they can deliver peace, security and justice. Their own brand of justice, but justice nonetheless. And that's where I think the West has failed to deliver. You know, on the ground, in the villages, they haven't delivered peace. The police force is corrupt. The justice system is corrupt. Afghans don't feel they've got peace, security and justice from the current arrangement. And that is more important, in a way, than this kind of rather mischievous or whatever you want to call it, a letter.
Well, to your point, and the writer of the letter calls it the September event, 9/11, and said that the Taliban, not the coalition, who have the upper hand around the southern city of Kandahar, where U.S. surge forces are engaged in a broad offensive. Sadly, that's the reports I get as well, that it's just not going very well.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's not going as well. It's not. I mean, I don't think anybody really expected outside sort of an inner circle perhaps in the administration expected it to go that well, to be honest with you. Getting into Kandahar, solving Kandahar is a multi-year thing. It's not something that can be done, that can achieve results by, you know, the middle of next year. And as I said, and we've said before, the Taliban are saying to people in Afghanistan, we are here for the long term. The US is pulling out. We are the only winners of this war. The US has already said they're leaving. Therefore, only we can win. Therefore, you better side with us. And I'm afraid that no amount of troops, even no amount of development at this late stage, is really going to make a difference from that. People think the Taliban are there to stay.
You know, the city of Marja might have been an example of, no matter how well you do, even if you do get in there and, quote, win the battle, whatever that means, if you don't have a government ready, it's not going to make any difference at all. And there was no government delivered at all in Marja. From every report I get on the ground, is right back exactly where it started, you know, what, $40 billion ago.
Right, you're absolutely right. Marja, you don't hear anything about Marja anymore.
Not a word. There's supposed to be a
It's
government in
disappeared
a
off the
box
map.
ready to go. Remember that?
Right,
Pop
well,
up, boom, government.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It went back in the box, or the box was empty, I think. But yeah, no, Marja hasn't been a success. The Taliban are right that they're bogging U.S. forces down there. You know, the people of Marja aren't seeing any benefits from the involvement of U.S. forces, Western forces in that area. So again, you know, it's a lot more difficult than just sending some troops in and expecting that you can even find the enemy, let alone defeat them.
Well, it's good of you to come. It's always so uplifting to hear you.
Sorry, Shep, I'll try and be more positive next time.
Simon Denyer, the D.C. Bureau Chief for Reuters. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shep.
A landmark terror case will soon be in the hands of a New York City jury.